All right, everybody. We'll just wait another minute or two, see who all is going to come in. Hope everybody's day is going well. Guys, if you like the channel and the content, I'd appreciate it if you would like the video so we can get some other people in here on this chat. I don't know if you guys were able to watch the last show that I did about whether or not it's important for young black people to vote. That was a very, very good show with myself and my friend Bruce Beckley and my other friend, attorney Coletra Mance. We had a really, really good conversation about whether or not it was important to vote. And you know, being a Jehovah's Witness, growing up my whole life as a Jehovah's Witness, I was never really able to vote or knew anything about politics at all. So it was really good to have a conversation with Bruce and Coletra about that. Bruce was I think, political science major, so he really knows a lot about politics and things like that. So it was a really, really good conversation. We're going to have a part 2 to that one next week, and hope you guys can come through. Next week, I'm also having another conversation with a friend of mine, a guy that I met. I was giving him a ride for when I was doing Uber one day, and he was in a cult called Faith Assembly. And this brother was almost killed. I mean, it was a very difficult situation for him, and he got through it. So it's going to be a really, really good story. I was really moved by his story. So that should be a very good conversation, guys. That's going to be next week on Monday. I'm going to start adding some new dates to the live stream because I just have so many live streams to do that I'm not going to be able to do them unless I add some days. So I probably will be doing a live stream on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday of next week. Monday is going to be with Mike about the cult Faith Assembly. Tuesday is going to be part 2 of how important is it for young black people to vote. Then on the 18th, I'm going to do a conversation with myself, Free Monique, Tatiana, and Tina Marie J. And we're going to be talking about women in the organization and in Christianity in general. All right. That's actually going to be October 25th. And on October 18th, I'm going to do another conversation about black people in the organization and Christianity in general. So next week is going to be a pretty full week. So we'll have a lot to talk about next week. So yeah. So guys, if you could, please, I would really appreciate it if you at least like the video when you come in. That way I can just get some more people. The YouTube algorithm will send the live stream out and we can get some more people on here. What's up, Rain Delayed? What's up, Willow B? Hope everybody's doing well. So let's get this thing started, man. So today I was just trying to figure out what I was going to talk about today because I really didn't know. I didn't have any idea of what I was going to talk about. And so I was just surfing the net and I saw this article about the Supreme Court ruling in favor of the watchtower. And I really didn't know What's up, Monica? What's up, Free Monique? What's going on, everybody? I really didn't know what in the world this was because I was thinking, who in the hell would rule in favor of this organization in any type of court case? So I read about this, and it's basically about religious groups and their ability or their right to determine membership rules. So what I'm going to do, I found several articles on the internet about this, but I'm going to concentrate on 3 articles that I found. And I also found an article about this same thing on jw.org. Okay. Now, I know you guys saw the title of this show. It's Supreme Court of Canada rules in favor of the watchtower because of a lie? ? Now, this whole situation is about a guy who was disfellowshipped, all right? But there are some dubious circumstances around his being disfellowshipped, all right? So he felt that he was disfellowshipped wrongly, and he took the case to the Supreme Court of Canada, all right? Now, let's just go ahead and dip into this article, and I'll start reading. I'll start reading one article. Now, there are 3 of them. They're not very long, but I'm going to read all 3 of them for a specific reason. And I really want you guys, please, to just bear with me. I know you're thinking 3 articles. This dude is going to read 3 articles. I'm not sticking around for this shit. And I would probably say the same thing if I were you. But I'm asking really nicely. If you're gonna watch this show, just stick around for me reading all 3 of the articles. I'll put the articles on the screen as well so you can read along with me. But all right, guys. So here we go. Let's start with this first article. So, the Globe and Mail, Canada. All right. Now, this court case happened on May 31st, 2018. All right. So, religious groups free to determine membership rules, Supreme Court. Now, here we go. From religious groups to political parties, Canada's voluntary associations have won a major victory at the Supreme Court of Canada, which ruled on Thursday that judges have no business reviewing their decisions. The case before the court involved a question of religious membership. Randy Wall of Calgary was expelled from a Jehovah's Witness congregation over 2 incidents of intoxication, including one in which he was allegedly verbally abusive to his wife. He sought judicial review in the courts, which is a second look by a judge at whether the procedures used to expel him were fair. The court's 9-0 ruling rejected judicial review of Mr. Wall's expulsion went well beyond religious groups or the question of membership. It said judicial review is available only where state authority is involved, as in a landlord and tenant tribunal or a law society. Individuals may still sue voluntary organizations over alleged violations of a contract or of their civil or property rights or over other wrongful acts. By way of example, the court may not have the legitimacy to assist in resolving a dispute about the greatest hockey player of all time, about a bridge player who is left out of his regular weekly game night, or about a cousin who thinks he should have been invited to a wedding. Justice Malcolm Rowe wrote, drawing these examples from a lower court's judge's dissent in the case. The decision ends decades of conflicting rulings by lower courts in which, for instance, soccer associations have found their decisions on the eligibility of players in a championship game, yada, yada, yada. We get the examples. Now, let's continue to go down a bit. The case attracted a dozen interveners, including Muslim, Christian, and Sikh groups that urged the court to respect religious decision-making. All right? So, going back a little bit, back up, I know personally of several elders and brothers in the organization who got drunk regularly. I'm talking about got drunk all the time. I'm talking about drunk. I'm not talking about tipsy. I know personally a whole bunch of people in the organization that got drunk all the time and were not only allegedly verbally abusive to their wives, they were for real, physically abusive to their wives. And they didn't get this fellowship. Now, there's several different organizations or several different ways of doing things in the organization. And some congregations are way strict and some are way lenient. This seems like it may be one of the really strict organizations or strict congregations, but that may be up for debate. Now, as it said here in the article about the case attracting a dozen interveners, including Muslim, Christian, and Sikh groups that urged the court to respect religious decision-making. Now, religious decision-making is one thing, but being able to control someone's religious decision-making by way of a threat of expulsion and the threat of losing their entire family, to me, is a completely different matter altogether. That's not the same thing. All right? So, let's continue. This article is not very long, so it won't be that long, guys. All right. The message in this case is, hold on, let me put it back up. The message in this case is, if you don't like the decision of the religious group, start your own. If you don't like the decision of the political party, start your own. Gerald Shapur, a Calgary lawyer who represented the Seventh-day Adventist Church and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Y'all remember those crazy ass people? Y'all remember those crazy ass people and those crazy ass commercials they used to have? The Church of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints. I may be, showing my age, but don't y'all remember those commercials? That little sad ass little boy was out there by himself and he was talking about, I want to be everything I can be, but I'm scared. and then the other girl came in and she was like, if only you believe in yourself, I know you can achieve. And then he got all happy at the end and it said the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I'm assuming that's these people. Them, the Mormons, all these other people who are concerned about being able to make their own decisions without intervention of government or anybody else that would say your decision is completely wacky and we're going to try to put an end to that. So they want to really hear how this case turned out, right? So, continuing on, it says, Mr. Shapur has represented a variety of voluntary associations in judicial review cases. It's very significant for every single private organization because most do not have significant resources sitting out there in the bank, he said. A challenge by someone could bring that organization to bankruptcy. In some cases, the organization feels intimidated, so it gives in to a bully. Now, we know this is not the case with the Jehovah's Witnesses because these summonses have over $1 billion in one of their entities. Now, we all know as XJWs that the watchtower has several different entities or corporations, and each one of these corporations is named something different, and they have money stashed in each one of these different organizations. I may or may not do a show on that at some point, but I think is pretty much something that should be talked about, because these people are using really inventive ways of hiding money in different organizations. But that's another topic. The point is, these people aren't going to be categorized as people who don't have a lot of money, so they will be bullied because they're afraid of losing money, because we already know they've lost thousands and millions of dollars in cases already that they've lost. So I don't think they're super afraid of losing money and being bullied by someone. They have enough resources where they think they can get away from these types of decisions. But I think that junk is kind of starting to run out a little bit. So we'll see. Let's keep going with this, right? Now, but Michael Fetter, a Vancouver lawyer representing Mr. Wall, said the decision gives wide latitude to religious and other groups to make decisions that affect people's lives. It means that no matter how profound the impact of the decision, no matter how unfair the procedures followed, they're not ordinarily going to have recourse to the courts, he said in an interview. David Nam, a lawyer for the Jehovah's Witness organization, said his client is overjoyed with the result. They're very happy their membership and other decisions cannot be reviewed by a court. Of course they're going to be happy, because now they still feel like they have free reign to treat people any way they want to. And the only thing that we can really do about it is just sit around and talk some cash shit about them and try to get them, try to get people out of the organization. But they're still happy because they know deep down they can still do whatever they want to people without consequence, which is still jacked up. Now, continuing. The Highwood Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses in Calgary, which has about 100 members, has no bylaws or property, no salaried clergy, and is not incorporated. Its members are baptized and agree to a code of conduct. Elders of the organization expelled Mr. Wall 4 years ago, ruling that he had not repented for his wrongdoing. He said he had been under stress because the group, now check this out, guys, because the group had expelled his 15-year-old daughter, and he had felt pressure to evict her from the family home. Now check this part out that's in parentheses. Jehovah's Witnesses say they do not require shunning in families. Y'all see that? Y'all see that big ass lie? Now, they've obviously told this to the courts. Otherwise, they would not say this in this article. Okay? One more time. The Jehovah's Witnesses say they do not require shunning in families. They do not require shunning in families.
They loved me and wanted me to come back to Jehovah. I tried to contact them. I just wanted to talk and to hear their voice. I missed being with my family. And they thought about reaching out to me. But they knew that if they had associated with me, even a little, just to check on me, that small dose of association might have satisfied me. It could have made me think that there was no need to return to Jehovah.
So, yeah, We already see that that's a lie. They are lying. That's one lie. That's one lie. All right. So, all right. Let's continue this because I have more to say about that. But we'll get to it in a minute. After he exhausted his appeals within the religious group, he went to court, arguing that he was not given a fair chance to make his case. A realtor, he also said the expulsion harmed his civil and property rights as he lost business afterward. 2 judges of the Alberta Court of Appeal said courts can interfere in the decisions of a self-governing organization when its internal processes are alleged to be unfair. But Justice Thomas Wakeling dissented, citing a 1921 speech by U.S. Supreme Court Justice Benjamin Cardozo. Quote, "A judge is not a knight errant, roaming at will in pursuit of his own ideal of beauty or of goodness." He said religious associations have the constitutional right to pick their own members. The Supreme Court did not go that far, but it did say the courts had no authority to hear any lawsuit Mr. Wall might bring over the alleged loss of business. He does not have a right to the business of its members, Justice Rowe wrote. All right. So that's one of the articles. We already down one. All right. Let's go to the chat real quick. Let's see what's going on in here. Free Monique says money goes a long way. Dominican truckers. Oh no, are we going back to the 2-hour meetings with Brother Fitz? Ha ha ha. Name withheld. They are the same as Mormon. Yeah, because at the end of those commercials, they used to always say the Church of Jesus. The first ones would say the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons, and then they stopped doing that. And then I guess they've gone back to it. Danny Fisk, lies, and more lies. They relish the opportunity to lie. They sure do. Monica Landrum, they lied. Of course they lied. Honest Dave, what's up, Honest Dave? The JW lawyer spin doctored it in all court. Spin doctored it all in court by saying that disfellowshipping is not shunning and disfellowshipping is somehow different from excommunications. Perverts with law licenses. Agreed. But there's more. All right, so let's go to this other article, guys. And I'm reading a lot of them say the same thing. And that is the point. The point is that these articles say the same thing, and I'm doing this for a reason. So walk with me for a second. All right. Now, this next article is from Global News in Canada. Okay. So let's check this one out. Supreme Court rules in case of man expelled from Calgary congregation, says religious groups can decide on membership. Now, a Jehovah's Witness who was expelled from a Calgary congregation cannot take his case to a judge. The Supreme Court of Canada has ruled in a decision that affirms the general right of religious organizations to govern their own affairs. In a 9-0 decision Thursday, the High Court said the Alberta Court of Queen's bench has no jurisdiction to review the congregation's decision to shun Randy Wall over alleged drunkenness and verbal abuse. Religious and civil liberties. Well, let's just read this quote, even though it's already in here. In the end, religious groups are free to determine their own membership and rules. Justice Malcolm Rowe wrote in the decision, adding that courts will not intervene in such matters unless it is necessary to resolve an underlying legal dispute. Religious and civil liberties organizations took an active interest in the case, given questions about the degree to which the courts can scrutinize decisions by faith-based bodies. Wall, an independent realtor, was summoned in 2014 to appear before the Judicial Committee of the Highwood Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, a 4-person panel of elders. He admitted to 2 episodes of drunkenness and, on one of those occasions, verbally abusing his wife. Wrongdoing he attributed to family stress over the earlier expulsion of his 15-year-old daughter from the congregation. Okay? And we have that again. So, the Judicial Committee told Wall, a congregation member since 1980, that he too would be expelled because he was not sufficiently repentant. Now, let's unpack that statement real quick. Now, he told them, look, I'm fucked up, I'm drunk, I got drunk, I fucked up, I got drunk twice. And I did it because y'all asses disfellowshipped my daughter. And they said, we don't give 6 damns about that. You finna get disfellowship if you don't get your shit together. So I'm sure he's like, but hold up, bro. Hold up, bros. I got drunk because y'all asses told me I need to kick my 15-year-old daughter out of the house because she got disfellowship. So let's look at this situation. Let's just examine this real quick. Firstly, how the hell can they tell somebody whether or not they are sufficiently repentant? Now, this is the same organization that goes around. If you talk to any one of these Jehovah's Witnesses, the first thing they want to go to is Jehovah is the reader of hearts. He's the one that's going to make all these decisions. That's the first thing these summoners is going to say. Jehovah is the reader of hearts. Jehovah knows your heart. Jehovah judges you by your heart. Okay, for reals? But then these people say you are disfellowshipped because we, as people who don't know the condition of your heart, feel that you are not sufficiently repentant for getting drunk twice and telling your wife to get out of my damn face because I'm drunk. So now we're going to kick your motherfucking ass out of this organization. Now, how can you justify that? That is simply unjustifiable. But let's continue to look at the situation. Now, this dude is obviously a good dude from the standpoint that he is getting drunk because he is distressed over his 15-year-old daughter and the pressure that the organization is putting on him to kick his daughter out of the house. Now, I don't know for sure what I'm saying, but I think I may be onto it a little bit. He was the one that's in distress. Now, his wife obviously knows that they want them to kick their daughter out of the house. So who in this situation is going to be the one that's going to bear the brunt of the blame for not kicking the daughter out of the house? Because we all know the structure of the organization. According to the organization, the man is the final decision maker in the home. So it doesn't really matter what his wife says to them. He is the one that's going to bear the brunt of the blame for not kicking this daughter out of the house. Now, whether the wife agrees with it or not, which probably, if she is as submissive to the organization as most of the females, and not just the females, the males are in the organization, but we're just going to just say from the standpoint of this female, because we're talking about her, if she is super submissive to the organization and is concerned about her eternal reward, whether or not she's going to be able to live forever in a paradise earth and have her own pet panda, then she is going to be pushing him to kick their daughter out of the house so she can get her own damn pet panda in the new system, because she needs that damn pet panda. And she's not going to let her husband not kick their daughter out. And no, so now she's off real. So I'm going to be the only one without a pet panda. No, she got to go. But the husband, we all know how men are with their daughters. Most of the time, dudes, your daughter has you wrapped around your finger. My daughter's 23 years old. Whenever she calls me and I know she needs something, I'm already like, I got you. It doesn't really matter. So it seems to me in this instance, this dude is fighting against the organization. He's fighting against his wife. He's fighting against himself, because he is in this internal struggle where he's been in this congregation for all these years, looks like about 30 something years. And in his heart, he thinks the organization is right. He wants to do the right thing, but this is his daughter. He doesn't want to kick his daughter out of the house. The organization is saying, you got to kick your daughter out of the house. His wife is saying, I want my fucking pet panda. Kick your daughter out of the house. So he's got all these people telling him, this dude is Job. He's got all these people telling him that you gotta kick your daughter out of the house. And he probably doesn't want to. So what does he do? Fuck this shit. I need some Hennessy. He gonna go get drunk twice. And now he's drunk. And his wife is like, excuse me, I thought we already talked about this. She is not more important than my pet panda. Now he's drunk. So he's probably saying, you know what? Fuck you, your mama, and that damn panda. I don't give a fuck. And now he's being verbally abusive. So now he got to get this fellowship. Because according to them, well, you know, if you look at it in that instance, he probably isn't repentant. And he shouldn't be repentant. I wouldn't be. I'm like, I ain't sorry. I ain't sorry. All she talks about is this damn pet panda she gonna have in the new system, and all y'all talk about is me kicking my daughter out. I ain't sorry. That Hennessy was good, and I'll do it again tomorrow. I'll probably do it right after this meeting. After I get out of this little room, I already got my Hennessy in the damn middle compartment of the car. I'm gonna drink and drive all the way home so I can get good and mad and verbally abuse my wife when I get there. Oh man, are you kidding me? This is the kind of shit that happens in this organization. This is the kind of pressure that people get placed on them, and then people expect them to just be okay with it. This is the kind of shit that causes all the mental issues that most of the people who are in the organization and who have left the organization deal with. This kind of shit is why. Because you deal with these situations that are like, I don't know if any of you guys watch Star Trek. I'm a huge nerd. It's like the Kobayashi Maru. It's like the Kobayashi Maru, man. It's a no-win situation. Like, it's this test where you don't have any way out. There's no way to win. They just want to see what you're going to do. That's Star Trek. It's the same way with the organization. There's a lot of times this situation is the only win that you can have is if you just do what they tell you to do. But if you are a person that's like, I'm not doing that, then you are in a no-win situation. And it's basically like, well, let's just sit here and see what Brother Wall is gonna do. Because Brother Wall can't do nothing. We're just gonna sit and watch. He's either gonna come along with what we want, or we're gonna kick him the fuck out. and he's gonna lose everything. Not only he's gonna be disfellowshipped with his damn daughter. The only thing he's gonna have is her, because his wife ain't gonna want him, because she want to get that damn. We know she want that damn pet panda, and we the only ones that can give it to her. He can't give it to her. We can. So his wife gonna be our wife, and he can go out there with his daughter in the world and get destroyed because he ain't Jehovah's Witness. Because we teach that if you're not Jehovah's Witness, Jehovah God Jesus is gonna shoot you with that giant bow and arrow that's on the watchtower magazine cover, fuck you up, and you're gonna be dead. This is kind of shit that you deal with, right? All right, so let's finish this thing, because y'all done mess around and made me mad. It's y'all's fault. Y'all done made me mad, man. All right, so where did we end up? Where did we leave off before I start that rant? So, members who are disfellowshipped may still attend congregational meetings, but they are permitted to speak only to immediate family members about non-spiritual matters. An appeal committee upheld the decision, prompting Wall to pursue the matter in provincial court. He alleged the Congregational Judicial Committee did not give him proper notice, an adequate opportunity to be heard, or reasons for its decision. The congregation argued that Wall's application for review should be tossed out because a secular court had no jurisdiction to review a religious tribunal's decision. In a submission to the Court of Queen's Bench, Wall said that his real estate clients, about half of whom belonged to Jehovah's Witness congregations, refused to conduct business with him any longer. A judge concluded the court had jurisdiction to hear the case on the grounds that being shunned had an economic impact on Wall. The Provincial Court of Appeal upheld the decision, and the congregation then took its arguments to the Supreme Court. In this decision, the High Court said the purpose of judicial review is to ensure the legality of state decision-making. However, in this case, the Congregational Committee was not exercising statutory authority. Private parties cannot seek judicial review to solve disputes that may arise between them. Courts may only interfere to address procedural fairness concerns about the decisions of religious groups or other voluntary associations if legal rights are at stake. Rowe wrote, yet there was no evidence that Wall and the congregation had a contractual relationship. Finally, the decision said it is not appropriate for the courts to make decisions about religious tenets. Now, while this is a funny little area, because we all know, yeah, they may not have a contractual relationship, but at the same time, a lot of people in the organization, because of what the Watchtower teaches, that you are in a contractual relationship with Jehovah God himself, view this as a contractual relationship. And there's a little funny gray zone. It's weird that, we can't really look at that and say it's a contractual relationship, because we don't have the contract, we don't have God's copy. God said, I made the whole plan. I ain't got to give you a copy of this contract. It's a verbal contract. And you may not hold up your end, but I'm damn sure gonna hold up my end with this bow and arrow whenever the Watchtower say that Armageddon's coming. Anyway, so we've read this article. Now we know everything that it says, right? I want you guys to remember, we only have one more before we get to jw.org's statement. Okay? But before we do that, let's look at the chat. Let's see who's in here. See what's going on with the chat. Kangaroo, Honest Dave, man, you are hilarious. Kangaroo courts can read hearts. That's why. What you just said it 3 times for emphasis. Haha. Those elders probably got drunk themselves after the 3-hour backroom special. Haha. That's so true. Ray, I'll never kick my children out my house. How can you treat your child like that? I would have told all them elders to go to hell. Damn straight. Name withheld. Thank you for a $2 super chat. Name withheld. I really appreciate you. She says, my mother, close to her deathbed, still shuns me. Sad. That is very sad. That is very sad. And that's, unfortunately, that is the situation that a lot of us are going to be in. So I can empathize and sympathize with you because, like I've said before, I'm pretty positive I will never speak to my parents again. I won't know when they pass away, or I won't know any of that unless somebody else tells me. But you know what? At this point, even if someone were to tell me that they were passing away and they were sick, I don't think I would actually even want to go and see them. I can hold a grudge with the best of them. And I admit that. I don't have a problem holding a grudge against someone. So I'm honestly just not even sure that even if they were dying, that I would want to show them some type of empathy at that point. Because just because you're dying doesn't mean that I'm obligated to forgive you for all the things that you did to me, that I've, asked you several times to talk to me about. I guess, according to quote unquote the Bible, your death will absolve you of all your sins, but once you die and your sins have been absolved, it's too late at that point for me to say, okay, you've been absolved. But that's not my doing to absolve someone. I can't do that. I'm just being honest. I just can't do it. And I know in my heart that, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to feel sorry for my parents if after me reaching out to them so many times, they still choose not to come and talk to me, and then they die. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna be sad about it. I just know myself. So that is so sad though, name withheld. She says it's the last moments. You should still go. No, I don't. It's that stuff like that. I feel like that's the things people say because those are the feelings that people think you're supposed to have. But I have been trying for 10 years. And at some point, for my own mental sanity, I had to let it all go. I just had to. And, I'm like I said before, I'm not a big crier person, but I literally cried so much about this and got so sick over so many years because I've had ulcers a long time ago and they healed up. And then when all this stuff started happening, my stomach started hurting again and I was crying, I was sad, and I was depressed. And the only way that I could function in life was for me to just separate myself from all those feelings. So now that I'm better and I have actually started to achieve things in life and move past all that, I don't feel it's fair on my part for them to get to, for me to just be able to go and ruin all that. And all of that progress I made was going to get erased simply because you've done the thing that all of us is going to do. All of us are going to die. Death is just a part of life. So them, in my opinion, them dying doesn't make them special. It just makes them human like everybody else on the planet, because they're not any of us who are not going to die. So I'm not going to hand them at their last moment the ability to say, yeah, he gave it. We were able to say something to him simply because we're dying. I'm dying too. That doesn't mean that if I fuck somebody over, that's going to give them the right to come and see me and me, make them. No, you had all them years when you were alive to do that. Now you're scared and you want to go get into some good place. Well, I hope you don't. So Oh man, that's messed up, but it's so true. That's just real. That's how I feel. So, all right. So we got one more to read before, and name of hell, that's not a knock against you. That's just me. That's just the only way I can deal with this situation. And if you feel that you deal with a different way, hey, that's great. Everybody has their own way of dealing with things, and I'm not trying to knock you. I appreciate you so much, but literally that is literally the only way that I could deal with my situation. And if you are able to deal with yours a different way, then that's great. I hope you can share it with us so that some of us who are trying to deal with it the same way you are can maybe do so. I just know I can't, right? So all right. So let's finish up this last little article. This one is kind of a little bit shorter, and then we're going to go to the JW's article on jw.org. So this is from the CBC. Jehovah's Witnesses cannot appeal expulsion to a judge, Supreme Court rules. Jehovah's Witness cannot appeal expulsion to a judge, Supreme Court rules. All right, here we go. The Supreme Court of Canada heard an appeal of a decision from the Court of Appeal. That's just a caption, you doofus. Let's go right to the article. A Jehovah's Witness who was expelled from a Calgary congregation cannot take his case to a judge, the Supreme Court of Canada has ruled in a decision that affirms the general right of a religious organization to govern their own affairs. Now, we read the thing about the 9-0 decision. Thursday, the High Court said that Alberta Court of Queen's bench has no jurisdiction to review the congregation's decision to shun Randy Wall over alleged drunkenness and verbal abuse. In the end, religious groups are free to determine their own membership and rules, Justice Malcolm Rowe wrote in the decision, adding that courts will not intervene in such matters unless it is necessary to resolve an underlying legal dispute. Religious and civil liberties organizations took an interest in the case, given questions about the degree to which the courts can scrutinize decisions by faith-based bodies. Wall, an independent realtor, was summoned in 2014 to appear before the Judicial Committee of the Highwood Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, a 4-person panel of elders. He admitted to 2 episodes of drunkenness and, on one of those occasions, verbally abusing his wife, wrongdoing he attributed to family stress over the earlier expulsion of his 50-year-old daughter from the congregation. Continuing, not sufficiently repentant. The Judicial Committee told Wall, a congregation member since 1980, that he too would be expelled because he was not sufficiently repentant. Members who are disfellowshipped may still attend congregational meetings, but they are permitted to speak only to immediate family members about non-spiritual matters. An appeal committee upheld the decision, prompting Wall to pursue the matter in provincial court. He alleged the Congregational Judicial Committee did not give him proper notice and adequate opportunity to be heard or reasons for its decision. The congregation argued that Wall's application for review should be tossed out because a secular court had no jurisdiction to review a religious tribunal's decision. Whew! I need to take a breath. In a submission to the Court of Queen's Bench, Wall said that his real estate clients, about half of whom belong to Jehovah's Witness congregations, refuse to conduct business with him any longer. Little quote, parties cannot seek judicial review to solve disputes that may arise between them. All right, right here at the end. A judge concluded the court had jurisdiction to hear the case on the grounds that being shunned had an economic impact on Wall. The Provincial Court of Appeal upheld the decision, and the congregation then took its arguments to the Supreme Court. In its decision, the court said the purpose of judicial review is to ensure the legality of state decision-making. However, in this case, the Congregational Committee was not exercising statutory authority. Private parties cannot seek judicial review to solve disputes that may arise between them. Courts may only interfere to address procedural fairness concerns about the decisions of religious groups or other voluntary associations if legal rights are at stake, Rowe wrote. There was no evidence that Wall and the congregation had a contractual relationship. Finally, the decision said, it is not appropriate for the courts to make decisions about religious tenets. All right, guys. So we got through all three of those articles. And now it is time to see what's happening in the quote, in the chat. Apostate mom, when there's something so painful that you experience, the best thing to do is to detach yourself from it. You're doing the right thing, and it's a good thing that it does not have an emotional control. Thank you, apostate mom. I appreciate you. Ray. What up, Ray? That's just a name you feel like you know him. You don't even know him, but his name is Ray, so you gotta know him. I mean, you know him. It's Ray. You know him. I know a couple who shunned their daughter and had the nerve to call me their son. How can you shun the child you birth and supposed to love, but says, I'm your son? The devil is a lie. Man, Ray, See, Ray. See, that's what I'm talking about, Ray, right there. That is what I'm talking about, Ray. All right. So, now, let's look at what jw.org says. How about that, guys? Let's do that. Because he wasn't, they are really making a point of this not sufficiently repentant stuff. I mean, it's in every one of these daggone things, man. I mean, I don't understand how people can get away with that. I mean, what do you have to do to show that you are sufficiently repentant? I mean, what do you gotta do?
I have sinned against you, my Lord. And I would ask that your precious blood would wash and cleanse every stain until...
I ain't doing all that. And Mr. Wall said, I ain't doing all that. I ain't sorry. He said, I ain't doing it. I ain't sorry. Mr. Wall said, I am not doing that. He said, I am not getting my Jimmy Swaggart on. I'm not doing it. All right, so we have arrived. Let's look at what JW.org says. Supreme Court of Canada refuses to interfere with disfellowshipping procedure. Now remember, we read 3 different articles and they all basically said the exact same thing. Keep that in mind. Here we go. In the case of Highwood Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses Judicial Committee versus Wall, the Supreme Court of Canada unanimously decided on May 31st, 2018, that religious groups are free to determine their own membership and rules, thus recognizing that the disfellowshipping arrangement should remain free from court intervention. The court concluded that the witnesses' procedures for reviewing a serious sin are not are not adversarial, but are meant to restore the member to the congregation, end quote. And it ruled that courts cannot intervene in such private ecclesiastical matters. What? Did we see what they did there? Did you see what they did there? Did you catch what they did right there? Let's do it again. Let's read it again. The court concluded that the witnesses' procedures for reviewing a serious sin, quote, are not adversarial, but are meant to restore the member to the congregation. End quote. And it ruled that courts cannot intervene in such private ecclesiastical matters. Wait a minute. We read 3 articles all the way through, from beginning to end, and that quote was not in either of them. And I read several more articles, and that quote was not in either of them. So, what are they doing here? Well, let's continue. Let's see if maybe there was a fluke. Maybe it just, it's just a fluke. Let's continue to read. In delineating the reasons for the judgment, Supreme Court Justice Malcolm Rowe explained on behalf of the 9-judge panel, the procedural rules of a particular religious group may involve the interpretation of religious doctrine, such as in this case, the courts have neither legitimacy nor institutional capacity to deal with contentious matters of religious doctrine. Let's do that again. In delineating the reasons for the judgment, Supreme Court Justice Malcolm Rowe explained on behalf of the 9-judge panel, quote, the procedural rules of a particular religious group may involve the interpretation of religious doctrine, such as in this case. The courts have neither legitimacy nor institutional capacity to deal with contentious matters of religious doctrine. End quote. I don't remember that statement being in either of the 3 articles that we read either. Now, they said something similar to the courts have neither legitimacy nor institutional capacity, but none of them said anything about the procedural rules of a particular religious group may involve the interpretation of religious doctrine. That is the same argument that what's-his-face made, Jeffrey Gargamel made when he was before that the commission, talking about they didn't know the proper interpretation of the book. So this is my point. Let's just finish it out, because some Jehovah's Witnesses might see this and say, but you didn't read the whole Jehovah's Witness article. It's like a paragraph left. It doesn't really matter, but let's just go ahead and do it so I can seem like I'm being fair and non-biased, even though I'm extremely biased. Philip Brumley, the General Counsel for Jehovah's Witnesses, states, with this decision, the Supreme Court of Canada joins high courts in Argentina, Brazil, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Peru, Poland, and the United States in recognizing our legal right to follow the scriptural precedent in determining who qualifies to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. The fact is, and the point is, the same way that many of us who are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and have studied their publications, the same way that we all say that they twist words in order to make the things that they want people to believe to seem to be fact, they are doing the exact same thing in this article. They are twisting and adding words that were not these people's quotes, as several of us have been able to research and see real examples of them adding quotes by someone who is viewed as a reputable person and taking that person's name and then adding sentences to what they said to make it seem as if that person agrees with what the watchtower is saying. And then later that person comes out and says, that ain't what I said. They're doing the exact same thing here. As I said before, we read 3 different articles, and in those 3 articles, we read basically the exact same thing, the exact same quotes by the exact same person that will lead you to the exact same conclusion. And in neither of those articles did we see what they said in this statement posted on jw.org. Why not? Why was jw.org the only one that actually had that statement in it? Because, as we all know, they don't even really want Jehovah's Witnesses reading stuff on the internet anyway. They're going to suppose, and they're going to say, if you want to know the outcome of that case, we have the outcome of that case on jw.org. Yeah, you can go here and read it. And what's going to happen? They're going to go to jw.org and they're going to read that nonsense, and they're going to say, well, yeah, we read the outcome on jw.org. We saw it. And the courts ruled that no. What we do is just an attempt to bring people back to the organization. That is not what anybody said. Nobody said that. None of the articles that we read, in none of those articles did anyone say anything resembling that. That is them, again, that is them trying to make people believe that everything they're saying is right. And it's not true. All right. So guys, let me know what you think. Of course, in the chat or in the comment section. I'm going to try to keep it from being, this one's not going to be a 2-hour long when I think the point has been made. But the ones next week are probably going to be long conversations. If anybody was there, let's go to the chat one last time before we shut this down. Honest Dave, man, you know what? You're going to have to give me your email address, because I think the next time we have a really good discussion, I would really like for you to be on the panel if you would not be against that. You always have, besides being, fucking hilarious, you always have some really cool things to say. You seem very well informed. So if you would, Dave, leave me your email address, bro, and maybe we can have a conversation about whether you would be willing to talk on the panel or on the show, because you seem so well informed. I would really like to have a conversation with you, bro. Yeah, Dave says the business fallout and effects for Randy Wall sound similar to the Robert Bryant case in 2002 in McMinnville, Oregon. Barbara Anderson was interviewed on the ID channel about it, and I have seen that, and you are right. Yeah, you seem very very well informed, Dave. So I'll email you, bro, and maybe we can have a conversation sometimes about that. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna try to keep this one shorter, because next week is gonna be at least 3 or 4 2-hour easy conversations. So guys, as usual, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments what you think about this article and what happened. Do you think this is another example of what the Watchtower does when they basically change words around? Change words around. Do you think what happened to Robert Wall was fair? Do you think that the courts made the right decision? Do you think the laws need to be changed in instances like this? And if so, what do you think they need to be done? What needs to be done about those laws? Anyway, just let me know down in the comments. And Name Withheld, thank you so much for your super chat. I really appreciate you. And I hope to have a conversation with you as well. Dave says, I guess I've learned a thing or two after 25 years in and snapping out of it. Hey, me and you both. I was in it for about a little bit over 25 years too, Dave. So I got you, bro. Hey, guys. Again, thank you so much for supporting the channel and watching. And don't forget, Next week is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and we may have another one. I try to stay away from Fridays because I feel like people are, out getting drunk like Robert Wall. So getting that Robert Wall on. But we're going to have 3 really good conversations. Again, it's going to be, the first one is going to be with my friend Mike, who was in a cult called the Faith Assembly. He was literally almost killed, and he survived this cult. So he's going to come on and tell us about his experience in that cult. After that, it's going to be on Tuesday, part 2 of the one that we did last week about whether or not it's important for Black people to vote. And again, that one, and I know people may think, what does that have to do with anything? But again, growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, since I was born in, I never voted, and I didn't know anything about it because, again, y'all know we were not allowed to vote. So some people who leave the organization may want to get into politics. They may want to know about things like that. But if you haven't been in it your whole life, you're not going to know anything. So that's the reason why it's important to have this conversation, right? It's not just about who you're voting for. It's not that. It's more so about is it important to know about it, and if so, should you vote? That's the whole point of doing that video. All right. The next one after that is going to be about Black people in the organization and Christianity in general. All right, because as we talked about on one of the other shows when Free Monique was here, we slightly touched on that, right? And so she's going to come back. And we're going to have that conversation. That's going to be on October 18th. We're going to talk about Black people in the organization and Christianity in general. It's going to be me, Free Monique. I may have my friend Bruce join that panel as well. And I may have my other attorney friend, Coletra Mance, join that. So it'll be a nice 4-person panel. And we'll be able to actually discuss that. And on October 25th, we're going to have another conversation. This is going to be about our women second-class citizens in the organization. That conversation is going to be myself, Free Monique, Tatiana, and Tina Marie J. So that is going to be a very, very interesting conversation. So guys, stay tuned and join those shows. I really appreciate it. Hey, Dave, I'm going to read this last comment. Your comments are always so interesting. I always want to see what you're going to say. Wow, the synergisms from other high control groups sound fascinating, just like when you had Tina Marie J interviewed, all leading up to the Leah Remini Aftermath JW episode, November 13th. So yeah, we're gonna have a couple of other people from other groups on. So we're gonna get that. That's gonna be a good thing. It's always good to hear other people's perspectives because it's funny that they sound so different, but they're so similar in the way that the control is obtained and maintained. All right, Dave, I'll do that. Dave, please come on this show. Let's have a conversation and join one of these panels because I really, really think everybody would benefit from your knowledge, man. I'm not somebody that's out here and thinks I know everything. I feel like I know some things and I know my experience, but we all learn from everyone else's experience. And I think I and other people would stand a lot to learn from your knowledge. So I'll email you, bro, and hopefully we can get together. All right. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned next week. There's going to be some really, really good shows.